Alright, now something I'm noticing, so I'm getting ready to replace these cup seals on the master cylinder piston. Not easy to do because they fit very tight on there, very snug fit, and if your hands are slippery and all that, you may have to take your gloves off, clean your hands off really well, because this is not going to be all that easy to throw on these new seals. So what I've done is take the replacement piston, mount it in my bench vise so that it can sort of, hold itself still. Make sure you use the soft jaws, of course, so you don't mar anything up. And then you can pry the new seal on a little easier. And be careful, this thing will go flying as well. When you're trying to push it on here, it'll all of a sudden just take off and you won't be able to find it. So, make sure that you keep an eye on that thing. But that seems to be the easiest way to put this new cup seal on the piston. Put it in your vise, and then you can manhandle it on there. I would not use any kind of picks or screwdriver or anything like that, because you'll probably tear something in this cup seal. I would only use my hands only to push that on, and it'll go on. Just make sure everything is clean, and maybe slightly dab it with a little bit of brake fluid right in there. It'll just make it easier to put on there. Alright, you see there? The new cup seal. This guy right here. Compared to the original. So you can see easily how brakes can start to feel, like kind of mushy. Not a lot of feel to them, because these seals start to wear out and they don't do what they're supposed to do, which is seal up that cavity inside the master cylinder. Anyway, it's not that hard to put this guy on, but I recommend you put it in a vise like this with your soft jaws. Make it a lot easier. And now to do the other side, which will be the lower one, I'm flipping the piston over, putting it back in the vise. And this guy is a good bit smaller. Make sure it faces the correct way, which will be upward like this. But same process. This one should be even easier than the first cup seal. Alright, and there it is. No big deal to put it on there. Just, you just kind of have to manhandle it. Make sure both these seals are facing the same way. And they appear to be. There's the original. And then this spring, here's a new spring. The small end is what goes on the piston, like so. You'll just push it on there firmly. And then any lubrication you will do to put it back together, put everything back together, just use clean brake fluid on this stuff. No grease, no solvents of any kind. Let's do that next. Alright, now let's compare the original stuff to the new stuff. All right. And let's get her put back together. Alright, we're about to put the piston back in, down in here. Make sure all this is cleaned out. No debris, of course, no metal particles, no dirt. All this should be very clean, because this is where it all happens. This is where your brake lever is basically coming out from here. So we're going to reinstall our piston here. That'll get pushed down in there, and then we will reinstall the washer and circlip and the seal. Alrighty, so Make sure everybody is nice and clean. And just use a little bit of clean brake fluid on these cup seals here to put her back together. Alrighty. A little bit of brake fluid on these seals. Make sure you're gentle, pushing all that back together. Like so. I can already feel that it feels better than it did before. Okay, now there's a spring in there, so be careful. You don't want it to come flying out on you. Alright, now we take our big flat washer from your new kit. Let's go here. Use your pinky, push it down in there. Okay, now we're going to have to take our circlip pliers again. The long ones, of course. Make sure that your wrench, make sure that your pliers are clean also. Just wipe any dust, debris off of there. Okay. Be careful with these as well. You don't want this clip to go flying into oblivion. You'll never find it. Just like doing circlips on your top end. If that thing goes flying, yeah, not fun. Anyway. Alright. Now we gently hold the clip in our pliers. Use both hands to make sure it doesn't go flying to who knows where. Gently squeeze them together. All this very gently. Push her down in there. And release. I use my pinky. Make sure it's in there good. You may want to double check with your pliers. Make sure that it's seated in that groove properly. Let me get a light here. Just make sure that boy is in there properly. Alrighty. Alright, now the clip seats into place inside there. You'll see a little channel inside, all the way out in here. Let's see if we can get in a little tighter. Yeah, all the way inside here. There's a channel in there, so it'll snap into place. And this clip, be careful with it. Get it seated in there nicely. And then you'll see the new piston moves freely. All is well. Then we will reassemble the new, still don't have my terminology mastered yet for this, the master cylinder boot, which is this guy. It will face outward like this. You'll push that in nice and firmly. And then the push rod. Notice it has two ends. This end is smaller than this one. The larger end is what goes in. It's the large end that goes in there, okay? So it'll basically come poking out like so. make sure that seat's in there properly. I'll need both hands to, you know, get this all down in there. And that should be that, actually, after we get that put back together. We'll then clean off the cap and diaphragm. We'll clean all that off. Don't use any solvents, just use clean brake fluid and you know, a lint-free cloth. Clean all that out. And then your reservoir float, that little guy, you know, just clean it off with a lint-free cloth. And we'll put her all back together and go from there.